I do want to ask you this because this is stuff I love. I want to get into the nitty gritty of how you and Ronnie met. So from the video that I saw, you guys
Hmm.
met at basically a convention, kind of like a creator convention. Is that right?
Yeah, playlist convention.
Playlist convention. Apparently, what you said is you guys kind of like spent the whole day together just hanging out after you met.
Well, I guess I could go into more detail now because in
Yeah.
the video we were like trying to make it like boom and straight to the
Yeah.
point. Um, so yeah, I wasn't supposed to go to Washington in the first place. My friend Swoozy
Hmm.
didn't want to go by himself, and I had gotten invited, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to go because it's usually the
Mm.
same routine. Like I love meeting fans and stuff, but I had a lot going on, and it takes a lot of energy out of you.
Yeah.
But he convinced me to go, and it's funny because he introduced me to the Merrell twins, Ronnie and Nessa, at the airport. And at
Got
that
it.
point, I was like, oh, they're just other creators. And
Hold on. Did you know the Merrill twins before that moment?
no,
Never heard of them.
the only time I've ever heard of them, and I don't think I've ever said this before, is my brother and his ex girlfriend at the time, Lauren. They had come back to the house because me and Alice were living together, and they're like, "Hey, you should talk to one of the Merrill twins because they're really nice and they seem like they'd be a good match for you."
Whoa.
And they didn't say specifically who, they just said the Merrill twins. So in my head, I was like, oh, Merrill twins. And I didn't think anything of it. And it's funny because I didn't realize this until after me and Ronnie went on our first date, and Alex and Lauren were like, we told you you'd be a good match. It took me a second. I was like, oh, you guys did say that a long time ago.
Wow, that's crazy.
I'm a huge hopeless romantic.
Yeah.
I follow all the rules when it comes to rom coms, like the
Yeah.
stories, the books, and all that stuff. And it still just blows my mind because I just wasn't expecting it and I wasn't looking for it. And that's probably
Mhm.
one of the few times in my life where I was like, I'm not going to look for a relationship. I'm not going to look for anyone specific. I'm going to focus on me, get my stuff
Hmm.
straightened out. And then, boom, there's this girl that walks up to me. She's like, hey, so I heard you have a pug. Or no, she's like, oh no, she asked about like animals. And then I said I had a pug named Guppy. And then she found that as her way in. And that's what she
Nice.
said. That was my way in. And then she started asking about Guppy. And like with Guppy, like if you ask me about Guppy, I can talk for hours.
Hmm.
And I have pictures. I'm like the dog mom or dog
Yeah.
mom where like just have hundreds of pictures like on my phone of just Guppy. Well,
Yeah.
there's Ronnie too, but
Yeah.
Guppy's in there too. But no, ever since then, well, no, actually, when she did that, I thought she was just being really nice. And she gets upset at me because she's like, how did you not read the signs? Like, how did you not
Hmm.
know that I liked you? And it wasn't until, well, I said this in the video. It wasn't until that night at one of the parties where Swoozy actually grabbed me by the face and was like, hey, what's wrong with you? Are you an idiot? She's into you. And at that moment, it was kind of like those flashbacks in the movies where like the whole day just flashes before your eyes and you're starting to see things with a different perspective.
Hmm.
I was like,
Whoa.
oh, I like me.
Yeah. Wait, when she said that, and when she said that, and when she did that, oh my God, she likes me.
When she touched my knee, I was like, oh, it makes sense now.
But
It's like, why would you touch
I
my knee?
actually can see I actually could see from your perspective because and I don't know her personally, but from the videos, she looks like the type of person that's just super friendly and like super nice. And
She is
so,
one of the nicest people
yeah.
I know.
Yeah, and so I would think maybe you thought, "Oh, she's just like this with everybody." Is that what you thought?
Yeah, no, I honestly, because I mean, you seem like a really nice guy.
No.
And it's not like you're not the kind
Very.
of nice guy to where you're doing it just because you want people to think you're the nice guy. It's because you're like legitimately a nice guy. And that's where I come from. Like I'm just like a really nice person. Like I
Mm.
like helping people. I like being nice to people. And when I met her, I was like, oh, she's just a super nice person. So like when she touched my knee, I was like, oh, maybe I had something on my knee. Maybe she was just wiping it off for me. Or like
Yeah.
when she was getting close, maybe she thought I was cold or something. I mean, I know I didn't think that, but
Yeah.
like I didn't think anything of it. I just thought she was like a really nice person, and maybe she could tell that I was there kind of by myself, or like that I didn't
Okay.
want to necessarily be there.
Okay. But when
Uh,
she was hanging out with you like at that time before you knew that you guys liked each other, was it
I
just
heard
you guys talking or was it kind of like a group?
In the beginning, it was a group
Okay.
because we were signing in to get our registration and everything done for the convention. But now that I think about it, and I've thought about this recently, um, throughout that whole time, the only person I can remember really is Ronnie.
Hmm.
Like I know there were people around, and at the time I didn't think she liked me, but she's the only person I can remember.
Got it.
Like
Okay.
it's yeah,
And
it's crazy.
so you guys were introduced to each other, and now that person that introduced you, did he or she go away, and then you and Ronnie just kept talking, or was that facilitator kind of hanging out with you guys?
Um, so his name is Swoozy. He's
Mhm.
another YouTube creator who does animation stuff. And
Got
if
it.
you know Swoozy, he's a very sociable person.
Okay.
So like
Got
he's
it.
around, but he's probably talking like he probably knows everybody in the room. Like everybody knows Swoozy. Swoozy knows
Got
everyone. If
it.
you don't know him and you're in the same room with him, you're probably gonna meet him just because he's like
Got
that.
it.
He's a really nice guy. So he was around, but he wasn't necessarily with us. If that makes sense.
Got it. Okay, so that makes a lot of sense. So what like the visual that I'm getting is that like yeah, you guys met and I'm imagining this convention of all these different creators and all of these different subscribers, and I'm imagining kind of like everyone kind of mingling. Now, at this time before it was like, oh, she likes you. At this time, were you and Ronnie kind of like chatting for 10 minutes and then kind of moving away and chatting with somebody else and then coming back, kept coming back to each other? Or were you guys kind of hanging out the whole time? See how nerdy I get about this stuff?
No, it's. But I don't know. Maybe it's because it was such a long time ago now, or maybe it's because that's the only thing I really cared about.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like I was with her the whole time, and if I wasn't with her, like I knew where she was, or we were texting, or I don't know. The only thing I can really remember is Ronnie.
Once you figured out that she was into you, did you
Hmm.
switch? Did you go, okay, like, let me actually start thinking about this? Like, how could I better facilitate this for us?
I kind of feel like I went back to like high school,
Mm-hmm.
like mentality wise. I was like, oh, she likes me. My hands started getting sweaty.
Mm-hmm.
I remember words weren't coming out of my mouth correctly.
Yeah.
And what's funny is because I've been on like dates before and stuff, and I'm pretty good about being confident, holding my own and stuff. But with her, as soon as I found out that it was more than just friends, like I completely forgot about all the experience I've had talking to ladies,
Yeah.
all that stuff, and I just went back to uh, hi, hi,
Yeah.
hello.
That you're giving me anxiety thinking about that
Dude,
time in my
my
life.
hands are sweaty right now, even
Yeah.
thinking about it.
Wow.
But it was like the good kind of like it was like
Yeah.
the excited thing, like when you go to see a Marvel, like if you have like a Marvel movie or a movie you really want to see really
Yeah.
bad, you're like, oh, I'm like Doctor Strange, the
Yes.
multiverse, and I'm
Yes.
like, oh, thinking about it, I'm like, I'm just like
Of
so
course.
excited to get to know or get to see it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so then you guys kind of left the convention, and then I saw pictures of you guys like walking around the city. How did that happen?
So that's all. Well, that was 1 o'clock in the morning. So we
Okay.
get to the party. Susie tells me the whole situation. Flashback about the whole day. I'm like, oh, she's into me. And after that, I was like, hey, do you want to get out of here? And we're in downtown at the time,
Mm-hmm.
down DC. And we just started walking down the street. And then before we knew it, that little street walk ended becoming a block, and then ended becoming a mile. We ended up walking until like 5 o'clock that morning. And we left the party probably around 10:30 or 11. So we were walking for like a good 5 or 6 hours.
Wow. And just like completely connecting the whole time.
Yeah, I don't want to sound cliche,
Yeah.
but you know that part in the Notebook
Yeah.
where they're walking and then they lay under the streetlight,
Mm-hmm.
stoplight, whatever it is, and it's like they're just like vibing and just talking, and like nothing else really matters. That's definitely how it felt.
Great.
Like we were seeing these amazing structures and like these huge buildings, things I've never gone to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and usually I would nerd out about that stuff because me and Ronnie really like nerding out about history stuff. Like we love going to museums and stuff. But all I can really like, all I cared about was just who this girl was that I had met and spent the whole day with, but I didn't realize liked me. Yeah.
And were you realizing like, oh, this feels different than usual? Or were you
Yes.
just in the zone the whole time, like, wow, this is so fun?
I was in the zone,
Hmm.
very sweaty, very nervous,
Yeah.
and it just felt right. But thinking back on it now, it was very different than any other experience I've ever had.
Now, was Ronnie visibly anxious at all or like nervous or anything like that? Or was she just keeping her cool the whole time? Is she that type of person?
She's a very cool person.
Yeah.
Like she's very nice,
Yeah.
and like she like I 100% believe that she's like she's the more confident one. She's like the
Mm.
more like I don't know. Like she just
Mm.
had this thing about her. It's where like I was trying to keep my cool, kind of like faking it to make it, like her confidence kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
But with her, she was just like completely fine. She just
Yeah.
seemed happy, and she's like, "Hey, let's go." I don't know.
Yeah.
Usually, like I'm fine, but I think it
Hmm.
was just meeting somebody I never thought existed, or somebody I didn't think that I would actually meet
Hmm.
in my life,
Yeah.
and that just threw me off. Like it's just
Yeah.
like you're so calm, you know exactly what you're doing, and then this person comes along, and they just turn your world upside down, and
Mm.
you're like starting from the bottom or starting from block A again, or like the first step.
I love that.
But no, I was completely fascinated. I was like, why are you into me? Why are we still walking? Why haven't you been like, hey, I want to
Yeah.
go back, or oh, we should go back, or like find some excuse to like want to leave.
Mm. Okay, so from there, that was the first day of the convention? How many was it?
Mm-hmm.
Was it like a whole weekend or something like that?
Usually the conventions are Friday, Saturday, Sunday, leave Monday. So come Friday, leave Monday. But I actually, so that was Friday, hung out Saturday, and we were supposed to leave Monday, but I had to leave Sunday morning because I had a shoot that I had to get back to LA for.
Hmm.
Um, and at the time, I think we both thought that maybe it was just like a weekend kind of thing, like a
Yeah.
convention kind of fling.
Hmm.
Um, but as soon as I got on the plane, we were still texting and stuff, and I was like, I still have the same feelings. And then we ended up
Hmm.
going on a date a week, the following weekend after that.
When you guys
And
were
that
in
was,
LA together,
yeah, and
because
that
you
was
guys
our
both
first
lived in LA at the time.
date. Yeah, I
Got it.
lived, uh, I lived, I think an hour, 2 hours away from her at the time.
Oh, okay. All right. That you said like an hour or 2 hours away from each other.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
Okay.
LA, it
Yeah.
normally probably been less than an hour, but with traffic.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was downtown, so anywhere I went was far.
Got it. Okay. So you guys were still in like the LA region though. It's not like
Yeah.
you were like, in some town outside of it. Okay. Okay, so that
Hmm.
makes sense. That's cool. And then that's it. You guys just kept hanging out and it just kept getting better.
It's so funny. We've been so present with like being married and all that stuff that I haven't really had a chance to like think back on that in a long time.
Well, now's the time.
So yeah. But no, yeah. After that, it just kind of everything just worked out.